The beginning days of Technagy, we almost went out of business once.
Yeah, 2013, end of 2013. I'm going to hold off names, but we had one client where we did a proof of concept for to build a private cloud. So we did that. 5 cities, proof of concept, racked up the debt, made enough money. I think we were taking in like $1,200 a month per family. And that's all we had. And I had 3 kids, a newborn. Actually, we incorporated Technagy the same like week or 2 after my 3rd child was born, Olive. Nonetheless, we do this for several years and we get to board approvals. A Texas board approves us. But we didn't know about an Atlanta board. We didn't know about this other board somewhere else. Well, Atlanta board denied us. They said, you're 2 people?
Too small.
You're too small. Oh, man. Devastating. 2 weeks before, Sam's at church, and there's a guy speaking.
Yep.
And the guy goes, somebody's going to be tested with something to see if you can handle what's in store for you. So Sam wouldn't typically call me about that stuff. I'll be honest with you. He would just forget. But he called me. He's like, Shadi, I heard this message. I don't know. Maybe it's for us, but here it is, right? So 2 weeks later, we'll get the board denial. And the person from Texas goes, hey, if you can write a letter that you have $500,000 in payroll, I can get you this deal. Now, just for context, we had spent 2 years, racked up $50,000 in debt each at the time. I said to the guy, I said, let me call you back. I called Sam up. I called you up and I said, Sam, remember that word that you got from church? This company's asking us to lie about our financials to get the deal. So I called the guy back. Sam, you remember those days? Like, we're barely making any money. Like I was saying, right? We racked up, I think individually, I mean, I don't know about you, but I racked up about $50,000 worth of debt.
Yeah.
Is it about the same?
Mine was a little bit less, man. I didn't have as many kids at the time. But
yeah, that's true.
Dude, do you remember I had just married my wife. Okay. This was in 2010.
Yes.
And we had then, just started the company like 6 months later. So you know what?
No, 2012 we started the company.
Yeah. Well, I think we were working. So that's another story.
Oh,
right?
But you had another company.
Well, and you and I were working together for 6 months before we actually incorporated it. And we did a lot of we got a project, man, from the Salvation Army, which was really cool, man. Salvation Army was the first company that took a chance on us.
But those days.
But hold on, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me tell you. You want to know how it is? If you guys want to know what it is to be an entrepreneur, get married to your wife. And about, a year later, move back in with your parents and see what they have to say about that. Because that was a journey, man.
We've all done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
Not when I was an entrepreneur, but we've done it. And I look at people that have that opportunity to do it. I'm like, hey, man, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
Do it. Save as much money as you can.
That's right.
Because you can see with inflation right now, it's absolutely nuts.
Well, that's the thing, man. I think even at that age, there was a stigma to moving back in, you failed, all those kinds of things. But man, we did it because we wanted this thing to be successful, and we weren't making any money to pay anything else. Couldn't, when you start a business, man, you don't have a paycheck to go and try to give to a bank and say, hey, give me a mortgage. If you're self-employed, man, they're nothing. Well, you got to be in business for, I think, 3 years at least.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, man, we moved back in with my parents, making no money, finished my master's, did all those things, and my wife's like, what are we doing here? Right?
But you know what? We did have a philosophy behind that. We both were aligned and said that we're going to save as much of the cash as we can, right? And it was a story from my uncle, when he ran his business, and my grandfather. They God rest their souls, right? They were probably one of the most inspirational people in my life, the most impactful people in my life. As when I think about business, and when I'm presented with a challenge, I think about my grandfather, and I think about my uncle. 300 employees, $100 million a year. They built a pretty amazing company in the Middle East. And My grandfather moved over to his son's company, put an investment in, but said, if you want me to be part of this, you're not going to touch the profits for 15 years. 15 years, remember that? And I was like, I don't know if anybody could do that. Like, we weren't like that. But the premise, the principle was be patient. Be patient. Especially, I remember going to a meeting early days, and I was meeting these investors for this real estate thing one time. And there was a Maserati, and there was like a M5, X5, M series, whatever. And I'm pulling in with my 2007 Honda Accord right between them. I just could feel like these guys are older than me. They're 10, 15 years older than me, right? But I could feel inside of me this embarrassment, you know? Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's part of the journey, right? Like, be patient, right? That's right. Don't overspend. Build your war chest. Save the money. It's like, it's the best decision we made.
I think, man.
Because we haven't taken a reasonable wage in accounting principles for 8 years. I actually think this year alone
was the first year.
Maybe. Actually, I found out like a number recently. Like, we're not even paying ourselves enough, which is crazy. But we can't take more than we take.
That's right.
And we're thankful.
Well, remember this show, The Prophet? Remember this show? Marcus Lemonis, man. It's a great show, man. It's a great show. But I remember this episode, man, I think it was like a kid that had some sort of restaurant or something like that. And he would take his business card and go to the movies and do all these other things with his business card. So Marcus Lemonis said one thing that I'll never forget. I think we talked about it back in the day. Like, man, this guy has his hand in the cookie jar, right? And that's kind of the idea of like...
We did that for many years.
Well, we didn't put our hand in the cookie jar, meaning like we didn't go to the movies and
no,
like,
not that. And
crazy.
So
what my point is, man, is like that was part of our journey of like building discipline as a business, or a discipline we still have to this day, which is probably like the best thing we've ever learned, I think, because it allowed us to make mistakes of be patient, don't take all the money right now. That time will come. I mean, let's not joke ourselves here. We're all here to make money. I mean, it's beyond money, but also at the same time, we got to
turn a profit.
We got to turn a profit. And you and I don't. I mean, owning a business is not an easy thing. It is the pressures of owning a business, the families that depend on you, the employees that depend on you, the decisions you can make that could just set the whole thing on fire if you don't do it correctly. It's a burden.
Big burden. And I remember those days of working for the telecom company, clocking out.
Yeah, right at 5.
Oh, man, the burden's gone immediately.
Go on vacation, nobody calls you.
Oh, man, it's not my problem.
That's right, it's not my problem.
So there's trade-offs, right?
Tell us about your vacation to Israel recently, man.
How many times did
I call you, man?
You call me, all the time.
All the time, man.
And I was ready to take the call because we built an asset essentially that we have to solve the risk management, the risk around it. But all this to say, when my uncle and my grandfather, 15 years down the road, got faced with the recession in the 80s, global recession, and all the different things that were occurring globally, especially in the Middle East, because the UAE was changing so much. Like the rules, the laws, the constitutions, all that stuff was changing so much. They weathered the storm, and they swallowed up brands that they were managing from competitors who didn't have that. If you could be patient, you're going to build a really strong financial foundation that will withstand the downturns. And let me tell you something, they're coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a big client. You're going to face a situation where employees are going to leave and now you have to work extra hours, or you're going to face a situation where you bring on too much business, but you can't hire anybody else because you don't have the cash. Like there's so many different areas that's so beneficial to save. So being I remember somebody saying to me, "Shadi, you're so cheap." I was like, "I'm cheap." I took that as a compliment,
right.
So I loved it. I'm not cheap, but in that moment I was cheap, but it was a great principle.
It's a good thing, man. I mean, the struggle is real. Talk us through, man. Shaddy, you do a good job telling the story, so I'll let you tell us, man. But, the beginning days of Technagy, we almost went out of business once.
Yeah, 2013, end of 2013.
We're sitting in this, it's funny, man. We're sitting in this, I think, an amazing office. You and I don't both think this, man. Natural light coming out the wazoo, windows. We're on the 4th floor.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, 4th floor. Beautiful lounge space, break room where you can actually go and sit and eat food in a break room, not a
Taylor coffee machine.
But
M&M's, gummy bears, trail mix. I see it all.
A shipping room, copy room. The list goes on, right? We have our own offices, a conference room. My point is, not to say all this about this, but I remember Shaddy and I, when we first started this thing, we were walking in Cedar Hill, Texas. We were walking through this office space, and it was in a strip center. There was a storage unit right behind it, a donut shop that said Shalom Donuts right next to us.
Good days.
A farmer's insurance over here, driving school over here, a thrift store. And you just had people walking in and out. It was not the best part of town. This was not the best part of town by any means. But we walked through that thing. We're like, this is amazing.
We were blown away. First of all, we were working out of Panera Bread and Starbucks and all the different restaurants. We were the guys that were there 8 hours a day.
That's right. Yeah.
Buying 2 cups of coffee because that's all we can afford. But, so those days, right? There's a verse in the Bible that says, don't despise the days of small beginnings. If you're too concerned about what people think about you, you're going to have a problem about that. It's going to challenge you. And it challenged us. Let's not lie, right? It did challenge us too, but it's kind of like you just got to push through it. That office for that season was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We walked in, there was pink carpets, I think, at the time. And we were like, this is still amazing. We could fix this. We, redid the office. It was about 700.
You and I did the floors in the back together.
Yeah, we did the floors. Put in the new toilet.
Painted,
We cleaned our own toilets, did everything. But that season, I remember, it was just such a breath of fresh air, and you can't forget that. You can't forget the wins because the losses come, right? But the wins, man, they're so important to remember.
They are.
And so 2013, you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah, I think it'd be good, man. Just like that's part of our story, right? About,
yes.
Yeah, I'll let you. I'll interject.
Yeah, so we had one client. I'm going to hold off names, but we had one client where we did a proof of concept to build a private cloud, right? And this private cloud, by the way, was the idea was to bring all the files from all the locations to a data center so we can secure it. Now, that was before Microsoft Azure and AWS and all those places, right? For all those Microsoft people that are going to judge the way I said Azure, it's just one way to say it, just heads up. But, so we did that. 5 cities, proof of concept, racked up the debt, made enough money. I think we were taking in like $1,200 a month per family. And that's all we had. And I had 3 kids, a newborn. Actually, we incorporated Technagy the same like week or 2 after my 3rd child was born, Olive. Nonetheless, we do this for several years, and we get to board approvals. A Texas board approves us. But we didn't know about an Atlanta board. We didn't know about this other board somewhere else. Remember?
That's right.
Oh, man. Okay, Texas approved us. It should be good, right? Well, Atlanta board denied us. They said, you're 2 people?
Too small. You're
too small. Oh, man. Devastating.
Right. That's all we had. We didn't have any other business.
3 weeks before, guys, I want to share the story. It's really, this is so part of our story, we can't deny it. 2 weeks before, Sam's at church, and there's a guy speaking.
Yep.
And the guy goes, somebody's going to be tested with something to see if you can handle what's in store for you. So Sam wouldn't typically call me about that stuff. I'll be honest with you. He would just forget. But he called me. He's like, Shaddy, I heard this message. I don't know. Maybe it's for us, but here it is, right? So 2 weeks later, we'll get the board denial. And the person from Texas goes, hey, if you can write a letter that you have $500,000 in payroll, I can get you this deal. Now, just for context, we had spent 2 years, racked up $50,000 in debt each at the time. The pressure was real, but our experience, the previous company that Sam and I came from, it's a company we didn't last long in because it was pretty shady.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to the guy, I said, let me call you back. I called Sam up. I called you up and I said, Sam, remember that word that you got from church? This company's asking us to lie about our financials to get the deal. And I said, this is going to be the easiest test we've ever passed. You remember that?
Yep.
So I called the guy back and I said, hey, God wants to open this door, he'll open it, but, we're not going to lie to try to get ahead. And the guy said, okay, well, I got 2 months left for you. You got until January 1st. December is the last invoice we'll pay. January 1st is just not going to happen anymore. Devastated.
Didn't know what to do.
I mean, we were sitting in the conference room and just contemplating, what are we going to do? We got $500 left in the bank account, $50,000 of debt each, and this wall in front of us. You definitely didn't want to go back to your wife.
No way.
You definitely didn't want to go back to your wife, but we sat there and we didn't have this angelic visitation, man, and this like crazy amazing thing. It wasn't like that at all. We actually just said, why don't we put it into Google Ads? Google Ads was moving and shaking during that time. And we did a 20-mile radius, and then we got our first call. And it was 30 miles outside of the radius. If you know Google, your ads don't show up typically outside the radius. So it's this aerospace defense company. It says, do you guys do IT outsourcing? I said, absolutely, we do IT outsourcing. We can do that. So we showed up and we presented. You were contemplating leaving. I was contemplating leaving. I was in the Middle East when you were doing the last pitch with this company.
Right.
My family, my uncle, he was saying, why don't you come back? And that's a whole other story we should talk about someday. But I remember being there for Christmas and getting a call from you. It said, hey, this company's coming on board. And they're starting on January 1st, which is the same day that other company was leaving. Now, guys, that is a miracle.
It was awesome.
If it was within the radius, 20 miles, I would have said to you, Google, you're unreal. 30 miles outside the radius, $500 budget, that's all you got. And we landed an aerospace defense company that replaced the revenue from this other organization. But what we would have made in that previous organization over 2 years, we made in the first 3 months of that new contract. And we backed into the model that we are today, a managed services company. Managed services is like IT outsourcing, is like another way to say it. So think about that.
Yeah.
It was this crazy story. And that actually set the stage for one, like for us, we just knew it was a miracle. Like, guys, we're on the brink of bankruptcy, like shutting down the doors, $500 in the bank account. We landed this aerospace defense company. We made all the revenues we would have made 2 years down the road with the previous company. It was a miracle. It was a miracle.
And that aerospace defense company gave us the space to learn, to train. We knocked it out of the park for them. But also at the same time, and those were such great guys.
We're all learning in entrepreneurship. We're all growing.
And one of the things, man, we had the courage to step up because Shai said at that time we weren't a managed services company, but we knew we could do it.
Yeah.
And we just and we knew we wanted to be an IT company, but we just said something that was foreign for at that time. Usually you want to take things slow and you want to go with smaller companies, but we found in what we call in our business a unicorn,
a whale,
right out
it's a larger company. Yeah.
And man, just do what we do today, which is like take a customer experience to the next level for those guys.
And that CEO was a gift to us.
He was.
And if you're listening to this, sir, you were a gift to us. We ended that 1 year contract, and we were nervous because we're kind of back at the same place.
Hold on. So actually, let me tell you this: when we first started with him, you were in the Middle East, okay, and I was so nervous that man, we needed any business at the time, right? Like we needed anything, whatever you can give us. So in our business, we like to sign contracts, 1, 3, 5. But I was like, sir, we'll do it 1 month to month. Whatever you need. Like, you want to give me a runway, then you trust me. I was just whatever I could do.
You said that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, whatever
I could do. What are you doing, man? You're breaking all the rules.
I know, breaking all the rules bad. Now I tell you what. But he said, no, I want to sign a contract for 1 year at least. He didn't want to do month to month. That's how much of a gift he was.
So we ended that 1 year contract.
That's right.
Nervous. Sam and I are arguing about raising prices, not raising prices. So we didn't rock the boat. But when we came to him, he's like, I'm not signing a 1 year contract. I'm signing a 3 year contract with 15% price increases every year. Talk about amazing. And we had revolutionized their business. I mean, just completely changed it.
And IT-wise, yeah.
I mean, we saved them millions of productivity. I mean, it's just transformed their company. But we ended that 3 year contract, okay? And so Sam and I had the guts to go, sir, we'd like a 5 year contract. He said, show me the numbers. And we negotiated a 5 year contract. It was $1 million, over $1 million for that one deal that we did. One of the biggest deals we did. I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the biggest that we did in one individual sale. And it set the stage, like, again, stay humble, pivot fast, right? Be frugal in the early stages. Be humble, right? Like I was mentioning, pivot fast. If an opportunity arises, just make the leap. Just go for it. But our services were reoccurring revenue services. We'll get into this one day. The model that we chose helped us because we're signing a multi-year contract. We had bankable revenue coming in. So we had the runway to learn how to do business. We're young entrepreneurs. No entrepreneur is like born with it. Yeah. You got to grow into being that entrepreneur. And there's so many different flavors of it. Are you type A personality? Are you you know what I mean?
You got to know your strengths and weaknesses.
You got to know your strengths and weaknesses.
That's it. Yeah.
Man, there's so many stories.
Yeah, there's so many stories. I mean, one of the things, man, I think perfect point. You'll never be perfect in being an entrepreneur. You got to make mistakes. That's the best way to learn. And you are going to don't be afraid to do it. But learn from them. Don't keep making them. That's the point. Everybody, that's one of the things, man, I think you and I have realized in business more so than any, I mean, it's just, it's always apparent. Like even we talked about earlier, the finance thing, and we have a rock star CFO that's come in and tell us. But when you look at numbers, it makes sense. You got to make more money than you spend, right? I mean, all those things, you calculate that, but you get lost in the weeds. And just being able to clarify all that and have direction and just focus on the things that matter is,
I'm excited about the future shows because we'll take you guys through like the beginning days and how we ran our company, the middle days and where we are right now. It's totally two different worlds because we've grown, opened up multiple offices now. So, and we like what? I mean, it's just been a massive growth for us.
It's been pretty cool.
And it's just been a cool journey. So we're excited to walk through that with you guys.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it inspired you. I hope this kind of gives you a flavor of what you can expect. And if you do like it, you know what you do. You got to subscribe on YouTube. You got to ring the bell notifications. We're rough at doing this, guys, so be patient. Got to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook. We're going to be on Twitter and potentially all the platforms, social platforms, but also follow us on all the podcast audio platforms, Spotify, and all the different places like that.
Man, we're going to need your support. We're going to need your comments.
Yeah, your feedback.
Comment, man. We're going to do some prizes and giveaways, I'm sure, for all that good stuff. But it's going to be a pretty cool journey. We need you guys. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.